Hello everyone, this is the Morning Call. I'm Hanan Fejani, broadcasting live from Congo.
And I am Robert Kodingo. Today is a lovely Tuesday morning and welcome to another edition of the Morning Call as promised. Top on our broadcast today, South Sudan's warring factions declared a ceasefire hours ago in a bid to stop further bloodshed. Hundreds have lost their lives and thousands displaced in a fresh wave of violence in the country since last Thursday.
It will soon be possible to detect malaria from your home. Researchers from Ohio State University are developing low-cost pepper strips for effective testing. We'll speak to one of the researchers later in the program.
And in Kenya, that anticipated closing down its refugee camps is receiving more from southern Sudan after in hundreds as fresh fighting erupted in its capital, Juba. We have more of that on our news bulletin later in the edition.
And in Nigeria, after months of rising inflation, the rates have been projected to stabilize. Analysts say the inflation figures began to drop as of June. Details in our business segment.
Well, a warm welcome to this broadcast. After the United Nations Security Council demanded that South Sudanese President Salva Kiir and his first Vice President Riek Machar control their forces after violence erupted in the capital, Juba, the president now issued out a unilateral ceasefire and cessation of hostilities, ordering that government forces to disengage from fighting rival forces loyal to his Vice President Riek Machar.
Fighting in the past few days has caused the death of more than 270 people, according to local media. The international community has also raised its concerns over the escalating violence in the country, with the United States and France terming the fighting as unacceptable. Nakwo Kwabla with more details.
South Sudan President Salva Kiir and his first vice president have declared a unilateral ceasefire across the country after heavy fighting. President Kiir ordered the SPLA not to shoot any ex-rebel soldier who surrounded.
All the commanders of these forces are hereby directed to cease any hostility and abide by this order, control their forces, and protect the civil population and their properties. All the commanders of these forces are directed to control their forces and ensure protection of any ethnic group that may be targeted by some elements within their forces. And any SPLA-IO who surrenders to SPLA must be protected.
Vice President Riek Machar followed suit 2 hours later, calling on troops loyal to him on a local radio station to observe the ceasefire. Renewed fighting erupted last Thursday ahead of the country's 5th independence anniversary from Sudan in 2011.
Marc Laverne is a researcher at the National Center for Scientific Research in Lyon, France, and we're able to discuss this with him. How can we explain this resurgence of violence? All that's being talked about are the military helicopters, meaning the forces loyal to the President of the Republic can fly around Juba and bomb the camps of the ex-rebels. The peace deal was only signed last year, and Riek Machar returned to Juba in April to take up the role of vice president. So in theory, there are no rebels. We still don't understand the motives and the intensity of the fighting. We also don't understand why civilians are being targeted. Neither the United Nations, the foreign powers, nor the permanent members of the Security Council, who are lamenting and asking for additional African peacekeepers to reinforce the UN forces, can explain exactly what's going on and give the necessary solutions. On several occasions, different peace agreements have been signed to end the ceasefire between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. 7 or 8 times they were not respected. And we are asking ourselves what the reasons could be. 5 years after independence, South Sudan can still not move forward.
Et l'ancien vice-président, de nouveau vice-président Riek Machar, 7 ou 8 fois ces accords ont été violés. On se demande quelles sont les raisons de fond qui font que le Sud-Soudan, ce plus jeune État d'Afrique du monde, n'arrive pas, malgré sa richesse potentielle, à décoller 5 ans après son indépendance officielle.
With no explanation at all, can we say that the two leaders have lost control of their forces? I believe that this question could have been asked if at all there were clashes in provinces like Malacan, Bentiu, oil zones where warlords recruit young people in their villages and who give them arms to attack, loot and even rape. Here we are talking about a town. Juba is a town which is rapidly growing with more than 500,000 inhabitants. If it was a small provincial town, all the people would have migrated and the government and also the rebels could have direct power on the fighters. I think the authorities have a direct responsibility over what's happening at the moment, or they just no longer control their lieutenants, and that could be very serious. But we could be facing this danger. Kiir and Machar are old fighters. They are not political adventurers. They have a section of the army that follows their orders because they know they are courageous, determined, and good strategists. And I don't think the power to make peace or war completely skips their minds. At the moment, this war has not spilled outside Juba. It could be a sign of hope, but nothing excludes the fact that it could erupt in the northern region that was affected by the civil war and also the oil zones.
Well, that was Marc Lavagne. He's a researcher with the CNRS in Lyon, France.